In this video, we're going to be talking about how to write linear equations when given a graph. So for these notes, they will have points kind of outlined, but that won't always be the case, so we'll talk about how to do that when that's not the case as well. But when you're given a graph, there are two things you need to do. The first is identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then write the equation in slope-intercept form. So remember, that's y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Right? So once you find those two things, you can put them together in the form. I'm going to outline the points on the graph because the graph is a little small. So I see that this is a point right here, and it looks like this is a point right here. So from there, I can look at my graph, find my slope, find my y-intercept, and then write my equation. So my slope is going to be 3 over 1, or just 3. And my y-intercept is at -3. After you have those 2 points, you're just going to put them together. Y equals 3x minus 3. Remember to put x in your equation, y in your equation, and your equal sign because it is an equation. You do need y and x, and then to put your slope and y-intercept in the right places. Right? Let's do a couple more. For number 2, the points I see on this graph are this one and this one. So I can look at this, find my slope, find my y-intercept, and find my equation. Oops, just 3. So it looks like my slope is -3 over 2. Because it's going down 3 and to the right 2. My y-intercept is at +2. So my equation then is y equals -3/2 x plus 2. For number 3, I see that I have these 2 points. And in this one, it's not asking me what my slope and my y-intercept is separately, but I can still write it off to the side that my slope is 2 over 5. And then I need to find my y-intercept, and it looks like it's at +2. Right. Number 4, I can see these 2 points. It looks like my y-intercept is at 1. Oh, this is not a good B. And my slope is -3 over 1, or just -3. So putting those together, I have y equals -3x plus 1. You will have an assignment that you may not be able to see those points, and I would say look for a point that crosses 2 lines exactly, like that one, or like this one, or this one, because there are multiple points that you can find them from. Just be careful because some of them will look really close but won't be exactly crossing. Right, we're going to skip some of these and move down to 13 and 14. So 13 gives us our equation, y equals 1/3 x minus 2, and they're asking which of these is that linear equation. So for this, we need to know 2 things. We need to know what our slope is and what our y-intercept is. We know our slope is positive, so if there were any negative slopes, like oh no, those are all positive. We could get rid of them, but there's not. We know our y-intercept is at -2, so if any of these don't have a y-intercept at -2, we can get rid of that. So it's not A and it's not B. And then looking at C and D, we just have to count the slope and see is it 1/3. So looking at C, if I'm looking for another point, it looks like this one crosses exactly. But that's +3/1, not 1/3. So it has to be D, but let's just make sure. I see another point that crosses the two lines, and I go up 1 and to the right 3. So that is my slope of 1/3. 14 is very similar, except now they give you a graph, and we have to match the right equation with it. Looking at all of these answer choices, all of the y-intercepts are -1. So that doesn't really help me. But looking at the slope, I can see that my slope is negative because it's going down and to the right or up and to the left. So anything that's positive, I can get rid of. And then I'm left with, is it -1/2 or is it -2? Well, let's find out. If I'm looking along this line, I see another point here, another point here, another point here. So I could count from any of these. And it looks like I'm going down 2 and to the right 1. So C is my correct answer there. Another type of line you might see is our special cases, our vertical and horizontal lines. So before we get into these examples, I just want to remind you about Hoy-Bucks. So remember that's your horizontal lines, your zero slope, and your y equals, or your vertical lines, your undefined slope, and your x equals. So the biggest thing here will be trying to keep your vertical and horizontal lines straight. Vertical, up and down, horizontal, left and right. That didn't really look left and right because it was angled. Let's try that again. All right. So from these, since our vertical line is in Bucks, that's going to be an undefined slope, and it's always going to be an x equals. X equals, it's always going to be x equals whatever number x is on. So in this case, I see that x is 3. So my equation would be x equals 3, and that's it. I don't have a y-intercept in this case. I should not have a y equals at all in this case. My slope is undefined, so I can't put that in here. The only thing I should have is x equals 3. For my horizontal line, I'm looking for the value y is at. And for this example, it looks like y is at -1. So I'm going to put y equals -1. I shouldn't have an x in this because my slope is 0. And remember, if your slope is 0, I'm just going to put in a random number. Whatever that middle term is going to be 0 no matter what. All right, so no x's, no other numbers, just wherever the y line is. And just in case you could not see the line in the video, I'm just going to outline it. Right, and we're going to do a couple more of these examples. For number 1, I have another vertical line. It's going up and down. So vertical, that's in my Bucks. That should be an x equals. So I'm looking for what does x equal. And in this case, it's -2. There we go, my pen's not working for a second. For number 2, I see it's a horizontal line, so that's in Hoi. I'm looking for y equals, and in this case, my y equals positive 3. For writing equations with a graph, really, that's as much as you're going to do. You might have a couple examples where your y-intercept is not exactly on the line, and that process is going to be the same as when you write linear equations when given 2 points.